there are times when I put together slideshows, put together a presentation of what we're going to talk about, and I get really excited because it's like a trip down memory lane. So today we're going to talk about megas. We're going to talk about mega Pokemon, and the reason behind it is because megas are just very, very interesting. It was obviously a gimmick that Pokemon introduced during the XY era that gained a lot of traction. A lot of people were really excited about it, but it was very interesting to play competitively. So when megas first came out, and I probably sound really dorky because I'm so excited about this. When megas first came out, there was nothing attached to megas where you evolved into a mega Pokemon that would let you still continue your turn. Like if you evolved into a mega Pokemon, I think with like Heracross or whatever an example would be from the first ones that came out, there was no Spirit Link. So then your turn would end. And then all of a sudden they introduced these Spirit Links where you could attach that as a tool card to your Pokemon that you were evolving into Mega. And I remember playing Mega Manectric. Was just a fun one to play. You did like Turbo Bolt, you attacked for 110, and I got to add a couple of lightning energies to a benched Pokemon. So I would set up another Mega Manectric on the bench, and then I would try and heal off it. It was an okay deck. But the Spirit Link lets you at least attack or continue your turn, which was very, very fun. I don't know what they're going to do with Megas. I don't know if Megas are going to come back. I think they are. It seems like they are, but you can let me know in the comment section down below what you think. If you think Megas are going to come back, if you would be excited about Megas coming back, because there's a lot of gimmicks that Pokemon has introduced throughout the years, but very rarely have we seen some come back. So we've seen Prism Star cards. We've obviously seen Radiant cards recently. We've seen Legend cards. We've seen Prime cards. We've seen a lot of gimmicks that Pokemon has introduced. Obviously VMAX, V-Star being more recent ones, but we have not seen ones really return too much outside of like Lost Zone mechanic stuff. That stuff kind of came back a few times now. So it would be really interesting to see Mega Pokemon come back. Now, obviously we saw the return of EX Pokemon because we went from EX Pokemon to GX to V and now back to EX. So maybe everything will come full circle, but there was a lot of really cool Mega Pokemon. And I think a lot of attention has been paid to Sword and Shield. A lot of attention has been paid to Sun and Moon. A lot of attention has been paid to Scarlet and Violet. But if you notice, if you're somebody who was collecting a lot of cards back in the XY era, there's a lot of really cool full art Pokemon, especially Mega Pokemon, that are doing fairly well. Now, there's a lot of them that aren't doing well. And we're going to focus on the ones that have kind of rebounded nicely over the past year. But there's a lot of other ones out there. You can kind of type in M full art, just M, the letter M, and then full art on TCG Player. And that'll give you a good search filter for all the Mega Pokemon that are out there that are full arts. There's a lot of them that are relatively inexpensive, but Mega Pokemon, the tech stream was different. It just, like full art Pokemon back then, just they hit differently, and you didn't really know that you were in the good era until it's gone. So Mega Pokemon, very, very fun. Here's the Mega Mewtwo EX. This is the one with Psychic Infinity. This was probably the better one. You also had one with Vanishing Strike, but this one was probably the better one in competitive play, although the Vanishing Strike one I think is done better as far as financially. I think that one's actually done better, but this is the one that I remember playing against quite a bit. I remember going against some top players who were playing Psychic Infinity. Mega Mewtwo was a lot of fun. It was very, very strong deck, but the very beautiful looking card obviously dropped down quite a bit in January of 2024. It hit at $21.71, which isn't bad, but had fallen quite a bit. But now over the past few months, it's gained quite a bit. It's gained almost 40% now. Over the past few months, it's jumped up to $28.43, continuing to trend upward. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens with these. Less and less quantities available, but the demand, not as much demand for a lot of these older full art Pokemon, which is fine. Here's Mega Rayquaza right here. This one was huge when it came out in Roaring Skies. I remember everybody wanting to play Roaring Skies Mega Ray when it first came out. I remember the consistency with this deck was absolutely insane. A lot of people would team it up with Altaria when Altaria first came out because it protected Mega Rayquaza with weakness. Obviously being weak to lightning really hurt Mega Rayquaza, but it was a super strong deck because you could basically search through your entire deck. You would draw through your entire deck like turn one to get this bad boy set up. It was insane, but it would do 30 damage times the number of your bench Pokemon. You would put Skyfield out there. You would have, I can't even remember. I think Skyfield lets you put out 7 or 8 bench Pokemon. It's an insane amount where you could do 240 damage to basically knock out any Pokemon that was out there. Very flat for almost a year. You can see at one point in time in August, it was down to $62.14. Gained a ton of traction in March of 2024. It was right around $70 and then gained about 25-30% over the past few months. It's sitting at 107.10 currently, but continuing to move upward. That one, like I said, from Roaring Skies. Here's the Mega Gardevoir from Primal Clash. Mega Gardevoir didn't do a whole lot of noise in competitive play. Brilliant Arrow wasn't a bad attack, and it did okay, but not as good as some of the other ones. It was out there quite a bit. June of 2023, this was sitting at $14.82, and it's been steadily growing ever since then. You can see some slow growth up until January of 2024. It hit like $17 and then moved up quite a bit, but demand not as high for these cards, so they move a little bit slower. $21.15 is where it's currently sitting, but definitely moving upward. Here's the Mega Latios EX from Roaring Skies. There's really no competitive stories about this one at all. Sonic Ace was not a great attack, even with Double Dragon energies being out there. Mega Latios was just never a thing in Roaring Skies. A lot more people were focused on that Mega Ray. They were focused on pulling Shamans and things like that. In November of 2023, this one had hit a one-year low of $13.72. The one thing I will say about this card is the coloring scheme is amazing. It looks really, really cool. Beautiful looking card, and because of that, I think for collectability purposes, also being Latios, a lot of people like that Pokemon. It's jumped up quite a bit. $19.80 is where it's currently sitting, so it's gained about 60% over the past 6 months or so, continuing to trend upward with that one. Here's the Mega Sceptile EX. This one also did okay. It does have an ancient trait ability with that stop ability up at the top there. It did drop down in November of 2023 to $22.09. It's been steadily gaining since then, but it did fall a little bit there in November. It's been gaining ever since then. It jumped up to about $30 a few weeks ago. Now it has fallen to $29.87, but basically sitting at its one-year high, but it's gained quite a bit of ground over the past few months. Very cool looking card. Again, the pricing or the coloring scheme with it is beautiful. Very cool looking card. Here's the Mega Blastoise from Evolutions. We don't talk about Evolutions a whole lot. Now, Evolutions booster box is obviously super expensive. Evolutions packs are super expensive, running from $20, $24, $25 with the ability to pull not a whole lot out of your pack of Evolutions Pokemon cards, because there's not a whole lot of value in the set. It's more people open it because of nostalgia, the idea of pulling that original base set Charizard artwork, even though the Charizard from Evolutions only sells for $40 to $50. But you do have some growth in some of the categories, including this Mega Blastoise EX Full Art. This was not competitive at all. There really wasn't any competitive Pokemon from Evolutions. The Rattata was probably the best one. The Rattata, which lets you, because abilities were such a big deal, the Rattata, I think, had the ability of getting rid of a tool card or something like that, so Garbodor wouldn't be such a big factor. But in January of 2024, this was sitting at a one-year low of $13.93, and it was fairly consistently between $13 and $15 from June of 2023 all the way up until April of 2024, and that's when it started going up quite a bit. So it's gained about $9 over the past couple of months, sitting at $22.60 currently, and again continuing to move upward. Mega Venusaur from Evolutions kind of doing the exact same thing. You can see relatively flat for quite some time, all the way up until February of 2024. It was hovering right around that $12 mark. In fact, in January of 2024, it was sitting at a one-year low of $10.49, and now over the past couple of months, it's gained quite a bit. It's gained about $7 over the past couple of months. It's sitting at $17.08 currently, so about 70% growth over the past couple months. Very strong growth there. Here's the Mega Houndoom EX. Not a great image of this one, but the Mega Houndoom, just very, very cool looking. It's gained quite a bit of ground. In June of 2023, it was sitting at $12.56. Not huge growth. You're looking at about 20% from where it was last year, which is still relatively strong as far as percentage growth goes. Only a couple dollars, though. Relatively flat from August of 2023 all the way up until April of 2024. That's when it's made its next move. Mega Houndoom, not a huge thing in competitive play until later on, after it had been out for a while. A lot of people used it for mill decks, things like that, started gaining a little bit of popularity, but sitting at $14.66 right now. Again, the coloring scheme, very cool. The texturing on it, a lot of people big fans of. Here's the Mega Gyarados EX. This one also from Breakpoint, much like what we saw with the Mega Mewtwo at the beginning of this slideshow. In August of 2023, this had moved up to about $28. It looked like it was gaining some ground, but then fell apart a little bit. And then in November of 2023, hit that one-year low of $24.14. Now it's gained about 33% since then. So over the past 7-8 months, it's jumped up about 33%. It's sitting at $32.28 for Gyarados, which really isn't that bad at all, and continuing to trend upward when you look at some of the other popular Pokemon and how they're doing as far as their Mega forms go. But this Gyarados definitely starting to make some noise. Here's the Mega Scizor EX. This one has gained a lot of ground over the past couple months. You can see it actually trending downward from June of 2023 all the way up until April of 2024. 2024, where it almost hit its one-year low again. Its one-year low was hit in October of 2023. It hit $9.94, and it was just above $10 in April of 2024 before it started gaining about 25% over the past couple months, sitting at $12.27 currently, but continuing to move upward. Here's a regular art Mega Alakazam from Fates Collide. This one I dropped down in November of 2023 to $4.36. Not a whole lot of movement dollar-wise again, but starting to trend in the upward direction. It hit $7.73 recently. Now it's backed off a little bit, but still sitting at $7.63 right now, so well above where it was just about 6-7 months ago in November of 2023. Here's the Mega Blaziken EX. This is a promo card. This card is absolutely insane as far as price points go for a Mega. A lot of promo boxes that were put out there. Obviously, we know Pokemon does that. They did that a lot with Megas as well. In June of 2023, this was sitting at $21.43. Probably less of these available because it wasn't able to be pulled out of a booster box. But in April in 2024, it had jumped up to $35.75, so that's a one-year high for that card right now. About 60% growth over the past year, doing extremely well. Here's the regular art Mega Gyarados from Breakpoint, so much like its full art counterpart, doing extremely well really since November of 2023. That's where it hit its one-year low of $14 and a penny, but very steep inclines over the past 6 months or so. Jumped up to about $23.48 recently, lost about 30 cents recently, but still way higher than where it was in November of 2023. Here's another promo card, the Mega Salamence. There's also a jumbo version of this. I think there's a jumbo version of the Blaziken as well. But this was sitting at $19.58 at this time last year. And over the past year, unlike a lot of these other cards, like what we saw from the Blaziken, it has just been growing pretty much all year. It's jumped up to $24.56 recently and continuing to trend upward. That's a one-year high for this card. Definitely making a lot of noise. Here's the Mega Charizard EX from Flashfire. There were 4 different variants of Mega Charizard. That Flashfire set was nothing but Charizard. And it was also a little bit hard to find, a little bit short printed compared to the other sets that released in XY, which is why the sealed boxes and the sealed booster packs have done so well for so long. This was sitting at $278.12 in June of 2023, but look what it's done, gaining about 50% over the past year. Like, it's moved up quite a bit. This is the secret rare variant. There's also a regular variant of the blue Charizard, and then the other Charizard there's 2 variants of as well, the other two Mega Charizards. These have grown pretty much the entire last year. It jumped up to $386.25 recently. That was at the beginning of April, sitting at $378.25 currently, so still looking at about $100, 33% growth over the past year, doing extremely well. These are all the Megas that we're going to look at right now, but I do want to know what you think of Megas, if you want them to come back, if you would be excited about them coming back to either the competitive game or just for collectability purposes. Very cool looking cards. Obviously, I would assume we would see different Pokemon being featured on Megas if they do decide to come back, but Megas were a really big part of competitive play for me and for my journey with Pokemon. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm, but ultimately just thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk for the last 15 minutes about Pokemon. Love you guys. I really appreciate you. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, peace!